I just can't do it, Aunt May. I don't know what's going on. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Project Potter. Welcome back to Project Parker, our Spider-Man review, guys. My name is Kyle, your host. And guys, yes, we went without the mask this time because we get that iconic train shot in Spider-Man 2 where, you know, he gets some sparks up in his mask, got to take his mask off. The whole kind of big reveal of this movie is that he reveals himself to a few different people there. So that's kind of the big thing here. But anyway, guys, once again, my name is Kyle, your host. Thanks for checking out our Spidey review, guys. So far we've done Into the Spider-Verse for night 1, and we did the original 2002 Spider-Man. Guys, we're back for night 3. We're doing Spider-Man 2. A lot of people saying Spider-Man 2 is better than Spider-Man 1. Do I feel the same? Absolutely not, dude. This movie is garbage, and I'm going to tell you guys why in just a little bit. Hopefully you guys don't hate me in the comments here, but this is my opinion on or Spider-Man 2, I should say. And so, guys, appreciate you stopping by. Go check out the other content, of course. Like, comment, subscribe. If you don't send me fucking death threats after this review. But anyway, guys, what we're going to do is my favorite scenes. This won't be a long list, I'm telling you. Some issues I had with the movie, which will definitely be a longer segment, a score of 10, and then the rankings, guys. And so I'm going to try not to be too negative, but I am going to give you my honest opinion on it. Again, I appreciate you guys stopping by, and here we go. Okay, guys, so once again, we're not doing the plot for these reviews. You guys know the movie. Hopefully you've seen this movie a million times. But Spider-Man 2 follows up, obviously, the events of Spider-Man 1. Some of my favorite scenes, guys, let me just tell you right now that a couple of the really cool scenes, obviously when Doc Ock creates the fusion with the trimonium or whatever the hell it's called in the warehouse, and the first they have a successful fusion, and then Doc Ock is like, oh, hey, look at this is cool, huh? And they're like, wow, this is a great breakthrough. That's also part of my least favorite scene, guys, because for some reason Doc Ock just doesn't shut the machine down. He's like, it'll stabilize, but he doesn't. He just ends up messes everything up, and then the failsafe that he put in the inhibitor, it blows up. Like the one thing that could stop these arms from taking over him, he's like, oh, don't worry, like it'll stabilize. It's like, it's not going to stabilize, dude. Listen to Peter Parker maybe once. Yeah, I don't want to get too much into that yet, guys. Man, it's honestly hard. I don't understand how people like this movie so much. I'm going to try and dig deep here, guys, to find things I like without jumping to the end of the movie. I mean, the opening sequence with the pizza is entertaining where, you know, he's like, Parker, 29 minutes or less. He's like, you got to go 7 blocks or like how many ever blocks in 7.5 minutes. And then he starts on his bike, his little dumb like moped, but then, you know, someone's like, hey, you stupid, and he like opens the car, and then he realizes quickly that he's got to go into the alleyway, change into Spider-Man, and swing there. There's a funny scene, a cameo by is it Martin Lawrence? I can't remember. If it is, I'm gonna put it in here. If not, if it is Martin Lawrence, you're welcome. If it's not, then I'll edit in the right name here. But he's like, damn, he just stole that man's pizza. And I was like, all right, well, it's a cheap laugh, but you know, you got me there. Yeah, I don't know, man. There's just, I mean, Alfred, let me just say, first off, Alfred Molina is exceptional as Doc Ock, dude. I am so excited to see him in No Way Home. Obviously, we're going to get the Hello Peter. Obviously, there's going to be this whole thing where he's probably going to run to Tom Holland's Peter and be confused and wonder that there's like different Spider-Man stuff like that. That's all really cool. So one of my favorite scenes, guys, actually is when Harry introduces Peter, and then Peter goes and talks to Alfred before the presentation, and he's with Rosie, and they're talking about love, and he's like, love is so powerful. But he's like, you can't keep something as complex like love deep down. He's like, you have to communicate. And that's the whole theme of this movie, dude, communication. And I'll talk about that in just a bit. But that was really nice. Alfred Molina is great. He's like, I love this boy. And he's like, obviously drawn to Peter right away. Kind of similar to how Norman was drawn to him in the first movie, except this is more of like a loving vibe, except, you know, both of these characters, even though at the end here, Alfred Molina gets a nice redemption arc, both of these characters kind of like love Peter, but then they also are their own demise, really, are like, they're too greedy with power, so that it ultimately leads to their untimely deaths there. That's a couple of the scenes. Ah, man, there's just the Aunt May scene, of course, where she says like everyone wants a hero. They wait outside in the rain for hours just to say like they saved their life or whatever. That's a really good speech. I've seen that on like TikTok and stuff a few times. So shout out to, I think it's Rosemary Marie who plays Aunt May. If not, apologies. She's wonderful, of course. You know, I do miss Big Ben. Big Ben, Jesus. I do miss Uncle Ben, not Ben Roethlisberger. I do miss Uncle Ben in this one, and so it's too bad. I understand why he had to die, the origin for Peter's motivation. It was a great scene, but to see just Aunt May is tough in this one. Yeah, I think that's the train scene, of course, the train battle, and then of course the iconic Spidey train sequence. Those all shine for me. But guys, I'm going to get into bad scenes here because there is a lot wrong with this movie, let me tell you. Going into this movie, I was really excited. I was like, Spider-Man 2. I was like, I haven't seen Spider-Man 2 a lot, but I was like, everyone loves Spider-Man 2. Everyone is like, yo, Spider-Man 1 is pretty good. Spider-Man 2 is better. You guys are all crazy people because I don't understand anything. Someone please explain to me how this movie is good, because we get this ridiculous like Peter. So if you guys remember, like, where do I even begin here, guys? Peter in the first movie got bit by a radioactive spider that changed his DNA, so he has super strength, he has like 20/20 vision, and he has organic webs now. Okay, that's in his DNA. Okay, it's not like he built the web shooters. It's not like he, put contacts in or made his vision better. It's like his DNA is changed forever to have increased vision, strength, like spider sense, all that stuff. And in this movie, he just loses his powers, but like when it's convenient for the plot. So like he's literally swinging and then he goes to shoot and he's like, oh, come on, not now. And I'm like, this isn't you're not out of web fluid, dude. It's in your DNA. It's part of who you are. Like, what? I don't understand. It's like there's like this whole Spider-Man no more. And it's trying to focus on the duality of Peter Parker and Spider-Man. And this movie focuses on like the guy in the opening says, Peter, you're a great kid. You're just not dependable. And obviously they show that with him, just being kind of lazy and not showing up to work on time because he's always trying to do he's like solving crime as Spider-Man. So that makes him late for his job and stuff. And he runs into Dr. Connors, which is great because he's already missing his arm. And it's weird to think that we never got like a Doc Connors in Spider-Man 3. And I know we get him in Amazing Spider-Man, but that's obviously a whole different like universe there, or another dimension, I should say. And so it's just weird because he's like, your grades are slipping. He's like, dude, you're showing up late to class. He's like, you need to, like, you're always exhausted. He's like, you need to be on time. You need to be responsible. And it's like, it takes Peter just a long ass time to do this. And it's like, he wants to save everyone, but then he's trying to balance his double life. And I love that theme of it. But Peter, this is what I don't like about this movie. Nothing is going right for Peter for like the first half of the movie. And like, I'm telling you, like, it's brutal where like Harry hates him. MJ hates him, rightfully so, because she's like, oh, come see my show. She calls him an empty seat. And I'm like, cool, that's all cool stuff. He tries to get into the show there. The usher's like, yo, no one can go after the doors are closed. And at first I was like, this guy's being kind of a dick. And then I was like, you know what, dude? Peter, rules is rules, okay? Don't show up late. He's like, yo, come up, like, get here earlier, dude. So like, no one's going in and I'm not gonna make an exception for you. He's like, oh, I'll just sit in the back. It's like, no. You should have come earlier for your friend. So there's that whole scene, guys. I think it's straight from the comics. I don't read the comics, but where Peter throws away his Spider-Man suit in the dumpster. There's that iconic shot. And then suddenly he's like, oh, I can wear glasses again. I'm sorry, did your vision just go away? Because again, it's part of your DNA. So why are you suddenly like, you don't have vision? And then like he goes to save like with a baby in the burning building. Guys, do we need another burning building scene? I was like, yo, is Goblin going to be in here too? I mean, he shows up at the end, so why wouldn't he be in the burning building? It's like, but he goes in there and then he can't break down a door with his shoulder. This dude had super strength before. At the end of the movie, he holds up a fucking huge panel for Mary Jane. But he can't knock a door down. And I'm like, dude, your powers can't just come and go. That doesn't make sense. It's not like a confidence thing, He goes to the doctor, and then there's a stupid scene where he's like, oh, it's not me who's Spider-Man, it's my friend. It's my friend's dream. And this doctor figures it out in like 2 seconds. He's like, oh, really? It's your friend's dream, huh? He's like, okay. well, he's like, if your friend needs help, he's like, it's all mental. And I'm like, it's not, though. That's not how radioactive spiders biting you works. It doesn't make any sense, dude. The scene where Aunt May is there, he like goes to save her. First of all, it's really dumb that he flings Aunt May up and she has a little cane umbrella or whatever, and she just hooks on. Okay, she happens to have the strength to hook her little umbrella onto the gargoyle or whatever, and then she's like, oh my god, save me. And then Peter can't get there in time, but she's like, there's like a little cliff, or like there's like a little step that she can just fall onto. She's like, oh, okay. And then Doc Ock just immediately takes her, and she does save his life there, presumably because even though he's got spider sense, where Doc Ock is like, oh, come on and save this old woman or whatever. And then he takes the spike out, but then Aunt May like hits him with the purse hard enough, apparently, to like break his glasses and like knock his thing over, and then saves Peter. But it doesn't make any sense because Aunt May, you think, knew he's Spider-Man the whole time. And there's even a conversation when like Harry and MJ and Peter go to like over Aunt May's place, and they're like, oh, what about Spider-Man? And they're like, Aunt May is like, oh, the less you see of him, the better. And I'm like, cool. She must know that he's Spider-Man. She knows that like that life is not for him, and she wants him to focus more on Peter and let the cops do their job. And I was like, that's awesome. But then when Aunt May is saved by Peter, she's like, oh, maybe I was wrong about you. And so I'm like, okay, do you know he's Spider-Man? And you're like, maybe he does have to be Spider-Man a little bit. Or are you like, yo, I don't know. But then the scene later where she gives him the hero speech, it's like, you have to know. So I think she knows. And I think she's just like, oh, maybe you should be Spider-Man sometimes. But that was confusing. It's just mixed signals, man. There's so much lack of communication. So 95% of the problems in this movie are because Peter is not communicating. Harry is like, yo, I'm going to kill Spider-Man. He's like, I hate Spider-Man. And Peter is just like, all he has to do is be like, hey, can I talk to you in the other room for a minute? Or like, go outside or meet up in a park or something and be like, hey, I'm fucking Spider-Man, dude. It was me who brought your dad. And when he's like, oh, Spider-Man, oh, he says like, oh, this changes nothing. Oh my God, when he brings Norman back, not Norman, I'm sorry. When Doc brings Peter or Toby or Spidey, I guess we're all the same person. When he brings him to Harry, and then he leaves them, and he's like, he just busts out of the chains like he was just like it was fine. Like, how did he even get in those chains anyway? And he tells him like, you killed my father. And instead of just saying, Harry, I don't have time to tell you the story right now, but it was your dad's own fault. He tried to kill me. I leaped out of the way. His own glider killed him. He doesn't say that. He just says, Harry, there are bigger things than you and me right now. And I'm like, bro, just tell him. Why the fuck? Like, because he's like, how are you Spider-Man? Like, he's shocked. And he doesn't fucking explain to him that he's like, I did not kill your father. Your father killed himself, dude. He was trying to kill me. It's just like, dude, it's so dumb. When Mary Jane has like multiple sit downs with Peter, and she's like, hey, I need you to know if you love me. And she's like, do you love me? And he's just like, I don't. And it's like, you're just lying to her, dude. And she even is like, well, you don't love me? Are you sure? Like, check again, dude. It's just like so dumb. And then she like sets up this wedding, wastes all these people's time with the wedding. Poor Jonah Jameson. There is a nice scene where she's like, well, I guess it's nice. I mean, it's kind of goofy, but she's like, oh, put your head back. And he's like, oh, and then they kiss because she like wants to know if she feels anything. And then he's like, I'm up on the moon. Are you up there with me? And she's like, what the fuck? But we didn't get to know Jonah Jameson at all. Like, he seemed like a decent character, but it was literally just like he was introduced with Mary Jane. J. Jonah is like, Parker, take the picture. And then he's like, Peter's like, I can't see this woman I love marrying someone else. But we get a quick scene with him, and it's just like, I don't know, man. There's just a lot going on with this movie, but his power's going on and off, dude. And then like him just finding out way too late. It's so weird. Like, I don't understand why people like this movie so much. Like, and Harry hates him so much. Also, why is Harry successful at Oscorp? In the first movie, this kid couldn't fucking tie his shoes. And now he's just like, oh, I'm just paying the bills. And it's like, what, dude? Did they just, because he's like the next in line, did they just like give him a job? And then suddenly he's like managing the finances. He's like the CEO or some shit, or he's like in charge of finances. And I'm like, this kid sucks. He couldn't even do anything. He tells Doc Ock when he met him, like, Peter got me through science. He's basically like, I cheated off of this fucking kid to get through high school. And I'm just like, oh, but now Harry's successful, right? And it's just like, it doesn't make any sense, dude. And it's just like, there's just so much wrong with this movie, guys. And I don't understand why people like it so much. So that's just off the top of my head, guys. I did like a few elements, but I mean, the train scene is pretty cool, but like, I don't know, man. I mean, it's at the end, it's just like, there's this whole wedding scene where Mary Jane literally is like running through at the end, and she's like, oh, I'm in your doorway now. And then she says, I was always in your doorway. And I was like, what, dude? What does that even mean? But yeah, it's a mess, guys. I mean, please show me the way. Like, well, you can try and I appreciate anyone who can show me that why they love this movie. I will see your points. There are aspects of this movie I really like. I really like that Peter is like, I can't be Peter Parker and Spider-Man. But then at the end, he's just like, oh, well, I guess I can be. And he's got a point where he tells Mary Jane, like, hey, I love you, but you this is why we can never be. And then, see, this is what I hate. It's such a sad scene because he saves Mary Jane's life. And he's like, I can never be with you, but I love you. And Mary Jane finds out, and it's like, wow, they finally know that they love each other. Great. But Peter is doing the right thing, and he's like, I can't be with you because Spider-Man is always going to have enemies, which I'm like, kind of. But in my head, I'm just thinking, like, how come you can't just have Mary Jane know that you're Spider-Man, and then the rest of the world doesn't need to know? It doesn't have to be this one thing or the other. It's not like everyone needs to know. You know, you can be Spider-Man, and then, like, let's say for future reference, guys, right? Let's say Spider-Man's fighting a villain, and then he gets caught, his mask gets taken off. This villain's not going to be like, oh, it's Peter Parker. They're going to be like, oh, it's some kid. Like, who is this kid? Like, you know what I mean? And I get it. Maybe they would find out his name eventually and then track his information, his loved ones, all that. But it's just like, it's not black or white, Peter. Mary Jane can know you're Spider-Man, and you can still be anonymous as Spider-Man. It's okay. It's like, which is basically what they end up doing at the end. But it's just this whole weird sequence where it's like, I don't know, he lets her down, and then it's like, oh, that would have been so sad. Like, he has to be Spider-Man forever, and she's got to go move on. And instead she's like, oh, you know what? we're just going to be together. And I'm like, okay. So, yeah, anyway, guys, I'm rambling, but those are some of my least favorite parts of this movie. Okay, guys, this brings us to the score. Guys, this movie is a 5.8. This movie is a dumpster fire. The dumpster where Peter throws out his suit, and then they find his suit, bring it back to J. Jonah, and it's like they hang it up. He gives the guy $100 for it. When the guy is like, yo, I can get more for that on eBay. And I'm like, if I'm that guy, I'd take that suit back. I'm like, nah, dude, I'm selling this shit for millions. Also, how do they know it's the real suit? I do want to point out, guys, one really great scene that I forgot until right now. Probably the only truly great scene in this movie is the elevator scene where Toby's in the suit because he can't use his powers because he doesn't know how to use them right now. He's in this elevator. The guy gets in the elevator, and he's like, nice suit. And he's like, thanks. He's like, where'd you get it? And the suit, guys, looks absolutely incredible in this scene. And I was watching the 4K, and I was like, wow, this suit looks amazing. And he's like, oh, I made it myself. And he's like, huh. And he's like, looks tight or looks uncomfortable. And he's like, yeah, rides up in the crotch a little bit. That is a great scene, and that is the only great scene in this movie. Yeah, guys, this movie, just a mess. Again, the themes in this movie, can't be Spider-Man, can't be Peter. I just wish that they figured it out a little bit better. Like, it's just so weird that, like, he knows he has to clean up his life, but he does it way too late. Harry just hating him, and so much of it just could have been resolved if he was just like, Harry, I'm like, you know, he should have done is just gone to see Harry in his Spider-Man suit, taken off the mask, and be like, it's fucking me, dude. Like, hey, we need to talk, okay? I know you're going to be angry, but let's do this. Instead of being like, this doesn't change anything. It's like, it does change everything, dude. Like, oh, you killed my father. Hey, I'll tell you about that later. But like, and he's like, what, dude? You must have stabbed me with a fucking dagger. Also, Harry finds the Green Goblin stuff at the end, and it's like, all right, I guess he's going to be Green Goblin in Spider-Man 3, but it's just like the fact that they had Willem Dafoe show up again, and I was like, this doesn't make any sense because Harry didn't take any of the super serum. So he's not having hallucinations. He doesn't know that. It's not like Willem Dafoe's ghost is showing up. Like, anyway, I have ranted enough about this movie, guys. super disappointing. Easily my least favorite one right now. Yeah, just a mess. So many scenes where I'm just like, what? Why? I thought the writing was bad. For as much as I really loved the first movie and I thought it held up so much better, this is the complete opposite, where I thought I was going to really enjoy this movie. And I was like, God, guys, don't mistake Alfred Molina being amazing as Doc Ock for this being a good movie. Okay. Don't mistake certain moments like the train scene. Everyone remembers the train scene in Doc Ock. Those are amazing moments. This is a terrible movie. I'm going to tell you right now. So that's my opinion, guys. I'm sticking to it. The whole Spider-Man cross thing is really cool. The fact that he stops the train with literally all of his energy and then ends up like passing out, and then he's going to like fall into the river, and they grab him and hold him up. That is awesome. Although when they're like, oh, he's just a kid, I'm like, dude, Tobey Maguire's like 55 years old in this movie. So he's obviously not just a kid. Like, maybe get a younger actor. But anyway, I love Tobey, so I don't want to say that like, because I don't like this movie, I don't like Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, or I don't like the Raimi trilogy, because I really do love this trilogy. But guys, this one is a miss for me, hard. So yeah, just not a good movie. Okay, guys, that brings us to the rankings. If you couldn't guess before, guys, we have Spider-Verse 1. We have the 2002 Spider-Man at number 2, and then we have this movie, Spider-Man 2, at number 3. I can tell you right now, guys, that movie is going to be sliding down as we go throughout these rankings. I can tell you that for a fact. So I'm not trying to be too negative on this one, but I am giving you my honest opinion, guys, and that's where we're at for 3 movies. Okay, guys, well, despite my very negative thoughts on this movie, hopefully you guys enjoyed, and hopefully you guys at least saw some of my perspective. Again, if you guys have different opinions, please tell me. If you love this movie, please tell me why. And maybe I'll have a different perspective on it next time if I ever end up watching this again. But it's not looking good, guys. But I am glad I'm watching these before No Way Home. So maybe they'll have like a callback or something. I'm so excited for Doc Ock to come back, because that is the one saving grace in this movie, I think, is Alfred Molina is so good as Doc Ock. And it's like, although he has a weird outfit, and like, I didn't realize, like, watching most of this movie, he's just like shirtless. And I'm like, can we get Doc Ock a badass like suit? Like in Marvel Spider-Man, they have an amazing suit for Doc Ock. He's like building shit for the Sinister Six. And this one, dude, he's just like wearing like a hospital gown. He's got like this flappy chest. And I was just like, broke it. And then he gets like a trench coat eventually. And I'm like, it looks cooler. But I'm like, can we get him some dope ass armor or something, guys, for No Way Home? I need that. I know he's got the Stark tech, the nanotech, I think, of No Way Home, so that should be better. But yeah, it's just weird. But anyway, guys, appreciate you stopping by. Thanks for checking out Project Parker, and thanks for checking out the channel, Project Potter. We're going to be back tomorrow night, guys, for Spider-Man 3, which I know it's got some ridiculous scenes, but guys, I just feel like I'm going to enjoy that movie a lot more than this one. We'll see. I got to say, guys, of the 2 Spider-Man movies so far, the Raimi trilogy, number 1 is by far and away much better than Spider-Man 2. So again, please let me know if you guys disagree. Hope you guys enjoyed the content. And until tomorrow night, guys, stay swinging.